Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. I'm so excited to welcome you to yet another promising edition on the Extreme Speed Live. Well, as usual, let's follow through our daily routine before we kickstart the session. So, if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice loud and clear, please type in hi in the comment section, as this will give me a positive feedback that we are good to go this morning. So I would like to see your comments. I would like to see your feedbacks in the comment section so that we can get this party started. So let's see what we have here. Thank goodness that our comment section is back on so I can get your feedbacks as always. So let's see what we have here. Okay, I can see a handful of comments right here. So thank you very much, 776, 7006, 614, 068. You guys are wonderful. Thank you very much. Dino, thank you very much. All right. So I think with this handful of comments, feedbacks, I would consider this as a confirmation that we are good to go this morning. And it's on this note I welcome you once again to yet another insightful edition of the Extreme Speed Live. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour I'm going to be your host, as I will be taking you on a trading journey into the financial market using simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of all of the assets on our watch list. Well, since the beginning of the week, we have been monitoring 4 major assets, which includes the US All Spot, the USTech100, popularly known as the Nasdaq. We also had the GBPUSD and the XAUUSD as well. And in fact, we have been doing pretty well in the last 24 hours as we were able to scoop in some significant amounts of profit across board. And in fact, we are going to be looking at that in detail. And before we go into the details, let's see. For those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. I'm very glad to have you around, and you might be wondering, what is it that is happening here? Well, as technical traders, we come and gather here as a community in anticipation of the New York session, where we come to review our existing positions if we have any, and then use the information we can gather on the market structure to strategically position ourselves ahead of the New York session. This happens on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And I encourage you to stay tuned in so you don't miss out on some of the insightful ideas we will be deliberating on here today. And don't miss out on our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works and eventually be able to use this information independently when you're about to make your own trading decisions. So once again, you are highly welcome on board. So as usual, our first routine is to check on the economic calendar. As you all know, these fundamental factors often manifest on the charts in technical patterns and price movements. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable insight into the current market structure and also give us a better timing so that we can position ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after this event. So on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact event from the economic dockets that affects the assets on our watch list. And for this week, considering the assets we have on our watch list, we are going to be looking at the United States and the United Kingdom's economic docket. Now, for today, Tuesday, October 3rd, we have the JOLTS job opening, which is coming up in about 3 to 4 hours from now. And although we do not have any high impact event today, but this is considered to be a medium impact event. And of course, majority of the market will be looking forward to this event to give us an insight into the health of the labor sector of the United States. Now, for those who don't know what the JOLTS job opening is, this is a survey done by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics to help measure job vacancies. It collects data from employers, including retailers, manufacturers, and different offices every month. And of course, a higher reading is considered as positive, while a low reading is considered as negative. Now, if we look at the previous data for the month of July, it came in at 8.827 million, and consensus projection for the month of September falls in at 8.83 million. So we're going to be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be like. Will it be just as expected, below expectations, or even beyond expectations? And of course, as technical traders, we know that the anticipation of this event alone has a tendency of influencing price action. Now, talking about price action, let's move right into the chart and let's start looking at things from a technical standpoint. Now, the first asset we are going to be looking at today is going to be the US All Spot. And in the last 24 hours, we have a phenomenal positions right here as price action had fall to the downside, hereby giving us a privilege of joining a bearish momentum. Now, let's run through how the week started with us here in this community and what led to the idea of selling the US All Spot. Now, if you look at the structure closely, at the beginning of the week, it was quite clear that price action was initially confined within a range that is between the $90.40 level and the $89.80 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision in the market at that point in time. And during our live session yesterday, we were around the structure right below the $90.40 level, where we were looking forward to either the breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And as you all know, the breakout didn't happen of the resistance line. Instead, we saw price drop to the downside, breaking down our key level at the $90 area and the $89.80 level to signal a bearish momentum. And in fact, we saw the breakdown, we saw the retest of structure, and we rode that move all the way to the downside. And if you still have a sell position running right now, you will be running with about, let's see how many pips that is, over 210 pips in profit at this point in time. And for those who are still in a sell position right now, you know how we do it. The next thing we do whenever price moves significantly in our favor, we want to be moving our stop losses to secure the current sell position. And from the look of things here, I will be suggesting that you move all stop losses to anywhere below the $88.60 level, or within the $88.60 level and the $88 area. Let's lock in some profit within this zone. And remember that we do want to be given enough room for price action to breathe. Now, with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action? Will price action continue to the downside, or are there chances that buyers will come in to take over this market at this point? Well, before we hold on a second, please. Oh, sorry about the breaking transmission, please. So, like I was saying earlier, we were talking about the US All Spot, and we've already moved our stop losses to secure the current sell position we have right now. And we are begging the question of what our next line of action will be at this point in time. And considering the strong bearish momentum here, are there chances that the end of the bearish momentum is near, while or is there chances that sellers will continue to dictate the pace going forward? Now, from a fundamental aspect, there is this event going on in Abu Dhabi right now, and that is the ADIPEC summit, where key energy ministers and oil producers will be attending at this point in time. And this event started yesterday and it will last till on the 5th of this month, that is still Thursday. And of course, it's anticipated to influence market sentiment significantly. And whatever decision they make there, or whatever statement is made here, will be thoroughly scrutinized to reveal the potentials of price action. So that is going on right now, and it has a tendency of moving price action. And what we want to be doing here as technical traders is to sniff through the current market structure to look for ways through which to look for early signals of where price is likely going for today's trading session. Now, to prepare ourselves for today's trading session, I was able to identify some simple parameters that we are going to be using to guide our decisions for today. But before we go into the details, I would like us to run through the higher time frame to give us an insight into the holistic perspective in this market. And scaling up into the higher time frame, let me refresh our memory as regards to what we saw here yesterday. Now, if you look at the structure, this is what I shared yesterday. This is where we started. And what we did here was to take into consideration the nature of price action since the month of June. And it is obvious here that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum. As you will see, after connecting the series of higher lows, we have an ascending trend line to work with. However, something interesting happened during the first week of the month of September, as we saw a deviation of that bullish momentum happened, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers here, giving us a new trend line to work with. And one of the things we said here yesterday is that price was trading along that ascending trend line yesterday. And we also spotted a key level at the $90 area, a strong psychological area considering the round figure of that price, where we said whatever happens here will determine what our next line of action will be. So if price remains above that key level, we look out for structures and patterns that support the idea of buying that asset. But if at any point in time price breaks down that $90 level, we want to be looking out for structures and patterns that support the idea of selling. And one other interesting thing about this structure is how it also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line. So let me give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about here. So this is the ascending trend line, and then we have the key level at the $90 area right here. Now, we saw what happened yesterday. We saw our price did break down that key level and the ascending trend line, which happens to be the first time price will be breaking this ascending trend line in the last 5 weeks. And one of the things I said here yesterday is that if price will break down that ascending trend line, we might likely see a scenario where price will drop to as far as either the $88 level or the major ascending trend line, where the appearance of buy pressure at any of these structures will incite an uptrend continuation. Now, with the way things are going right now, price appear to have dropped into, even fallen below the $88 area, a level which has played a major role in determining the direction of price action since the beginning of the month of September. Now, look at this structure here. At the beginning of the month of September, we saw selling pressure right below the structure. This lasted for about a week or so before price broke out of this level during the second week of last month. And since price broke above the $88 area, you will see how sellers have struggled to break through that area, as every time price comes into the structure, we saw how buyers came in to take over the market. Now, fast forward to what is happening right now, that is in the last, let's say, 12 hours, we finally saw the breakdown of that $88 area. And you can see that in the last 3 hours or so, price is currently around that $88 level. Now, at this point in time, the $88 level is going to play a major role in determining the direction of price action for today. Now, if price remains below that $88 level, that is, buyers find it difficult to climb back above the structure, then we want to be looking out for selling opportunities on our lower time frame. And if buy pressure resumes above the $88 level, like double bottom structures, head and shoulder patterns, we want to be joining an uptrend move. Now let's scale down into the 1 hour time frame so that we can see how participants in this market has been reacting to that $88 level. Now, if this sell pressure continues, then we might likely see a bust up at this trend line somewhere around between the $86 and the $85 area for bullish momentum. But if price breaks below the structure, then we want to be seeing a sell move. Now, let's scale down into the 1 hour time frame. Let's look at what is going on around that $88 area. Now, for the sake of clarity, I would love to mark out that $88 level around this area. So we have something like this. So I will give it a different color so that we can, so let's give it a blue color instead. So we have the $88 level marked out. You do want to be marking out this level on your chart right now. Then we have the line, beautiful. So you will see here that we had the breakdown of the $88 level. This was right here during the later part of the New York session. And it appears price is back into that structure. And in fact, in the last 3 hours, we've continued to notice sell pressure around this area as buyers are struggling to break out of that area. Now, if the sell pressure continues below the $88 level, that is, if we scale down into our lower time frame and we continue to see that buyers are finding it difficult to break out of that $88 area, and this of course would reflect on the chart as lower lows and lower highs or double top structures, then we want to be in for a bearish momentum where the further breakdown of the $87 level, which happens to be the lowest point that price action has been since the beginning of this week, will be welcoming more selling opportunities. So we still remain bearish here on this one. Then another thing I would like to share with you is this descending trend line. Now, if we go to as far back as last week trading session when price hits the highest point in a long time around the $94 area, we saw how sellers came in to push price to the downside. And as a result of this, we have lower highs after connecting the series of lower highs in this market, giving us a beautiful descending trend line to work with. And as long as price remains below that trend line, we will hold on to a bearish bias, looking out for more selling opportunities to run this bearish momentum to the downside. Now, with the appearance of buy pressure around the $87 area this morning, the bullish momentum that might come up from this area could be a retracement of this bearish impulse leg that we have here. And in fact, it could go to as far as coming back into the descending trend line, which interestingly shares a confluence with the $88.60 level. Now, if buyers are finding it difficult to break out of that descending trend line, which would reflect on the chart as continued selling pressure below the structure, then we'll have no other choice than to join a bearish momentum to the downside, and then a further breakdown of the $87 level will be welcoming more selling opportunities. However, If price action breaks out of the $88.60 level, and of course this descending trend line, this will be a bullish signal for us. And one interesting thing about the breakout of the descending trend line is that if it does happen that we have a breach of this trend line, then this will be a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate that bullish attempt. And also this will be the first time price will be breaking out of that structure since last week's trading session. Now, one thing about the breakout of the structure is this: if price does break out of that level, that is the $88.60 level and the descending trend line, we are not going to be getting too excited, as the breakout could still turn out to be a false breakout. So instead, we will exercise patience, wait for confirmations to happen, which would reflect on the chart as retest of structure where the appearance of buy pressure around or above the $88.60 level will welcome buying opportunities. So for us to buy the US All Spot today, for me to feel comfortable buying the US All Spot today, I would rather want to see price break above this as descending trend line and the $88.60 level to capitalize on an uptrend move. However, if price remains below the structure, we remain bearish in this market. So you will see how this descending trend line is going to be playing a major role in determining the direction of price action, at least for the first half of this week. So you do want to be marking out your trend lines here, and of course this key level, as you will be using it as a yardstick to guide your independent trading decisions for today. So let's see how the market will play out going forward. Please ensure you've moved your stop losses on all sell positions. Secure the current position while we look out for more selling opportunities. So the current buyers in this market still remain bearish, and the only condition that will make us change from bearish to bullish is for price to break out of that descending trend line today. So these are my views here on the US All Spot. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before moving on to the next financial asset. Then you can also use that time to mark out these levels on your chart. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So permit me to move right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list today is the USTech100, popularly known as the NASDAQ. And in fact, price trading activity has been range bound since the beginning of the week, which further emphasized the level of indecision in this market. Though we had some sell position triggered yesterday, but we were taken out at a worst case scenario break, even if you had moved your stop loss accordingly, as we saw price break down the 14,785 level. Now let's run through how the week started here for us yesterday and what led to the decisions we made. Now at the beginning of the week, we saw that price was consolidating during the first 10 hours of the week, as we saw price confined within that range, that is the 14,860 and the 14,785 area. Now, you know how we do it when there is this kind of uncertainty in the market where price transitions into a flat channel. We want to exercise patience, waiting for either the breakout of the resistance line for breakout retest for buying opportunities, or the breakdown retest for selling opportunities. As you will see here, yesterday we saw the breakdown happen. We saw price action come back. Hold on a second. We saw the breakdown happen. Price came back to retest the structure to give us a sell position. And in fact, price did not move that far. As you saw, price moved about 65 pips before buyers came in to take out all the sell position in this market. So at this point in time, we really have not made anything significant on the USTech100. So we will continue to exercise patience, looking out for more trading opportunities. Now, what is it that we are going to be doing today, and how do we intend to maximize the potential of a bullish move here? Of a trading opportunity, because we don't know if it's going bullish or not. Now, let's look at the structure here from the higher time frame. Now, scaling up into the daily time frame, let's refresh our memories as to what we saw here at the beginning of the week, and at the same time, let's give those who missed out on our analysis yesterday a benefit of doubt to be on the same page with us here. Now, look at what happened here on the daily time frame. It's obvious that price is bullish, and in fact we have a trend line, an ascending trend line, to buttress the strength of the buyers here. As you will see, since the beginning of this year, price had consistently, uniformly formed higher highs and higher lows here. Now, not until a couple of weeks ago that we witnessed the sudden breakdown of that ascending trend line to give us a sign that we might likely be seeing a momentum shift anytime soon. And of course, when price breaks down of a major ascending trend line like this, it's going to be considered a signal that sellers may likely come into this market. Now, despite the breakdown of that ascending trend line, we had a key level situated at the 14,550 level. Now, if you look at the structure closely, I think I lost my connections. Can you still hear me in the comment section? Please let me know. If you can still see or hear my voice, please let me know in the comment section as it appears. Okay, let me try to give me a moment, please. I'll be right back. Sorry for the break in transmission. I had to sort out a little bit of technical issues here so that we can have a better experience out here. And I do hope that you can see my screen and hear my voice loud and clear. If you can, please let me know in the comment section. And if you can't, please also let me know in the comment section so that I can do the necessary adjustments to make our experience better out here. So, like I was saying earlier, we were discussing about the USTech100 on what the current market structure is looking like on the daily time frame. And one of the things we observed on the daily time frame is the fact that price action has been on a strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the year. And as a result of that, we have this ascending trend line duly marked out on our chart, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers in this market. However, we noticed a couple of weeks ago the sudden breakdown of that ascending trend line, which happens to be the first time price will be breaking down of that trend line since the beginning of this year. And for us, from a technical standpoint, this is a signal of a potential shift in momentum. Now, with the breakdown of the structure, despite the breakdown of the structure, we saw how price has come back into a level which we agreed that we are going to be using it as our key level for the week, and that is the 14,550 area. And of course, you know how we use our key levels in this community. As long as price remains above that key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying an asset. Now, since price broke above this key level in the month of June, you will see how buyers have continued to hold their momentum here, as every attempt by the sellers to break down the structure at every point in time was met with strong resistance from the buyers. And in fact, look at what happened last week. Despite the strong bearish momentum that broke down that ascending trend line, you see what happened here. Sellers were unable to break through that level, which further emphasized how strong this area is for the buyers. Now, from a technical standpoint, whenever we notice the breakdown of a major ascending trend line like this, we expect that some point in time price is likely going to come back, retest that structure to incite a downtrend scenario. And for the fact that we have been noticing buy pressure around the 14,450 in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 days now, it's more of it's likely that we could see some retracement back into the trend line that was broken a couple of weeks ago to incite that downtrend move. And in fact, we'll definitely want to be part of that move, as if you look at where price action is right now and that trend line, it's over 500 pips. Now, how do we capitalize on that? Well, to do this, we want to be scaling down into the lower time frame so we can see how market participants have been reacting to that, reacting above that key level situated at the 14,550. And I think we saw something here on the 4 hours time frame which further emphasized the potential of the buyers at this point in time. Now, on the 4 hours time frame, this is the structure I was able to come up with. We saw a descending channel since throughout the month of September, as you will see right here. After connecting the series of lower highs and lower lows, we have the descending channel, and we saw the breakdown of this descending channel during the last week of the month of September. Now, from a technical standpoint, a breakdown like this, you'll see price come back to retest the support line of that channel to incite a downtrend scenario. However, something interesting has been going on in this market since last week. So let's zoom right into the current structure. Now, look at what has been going on here. So this is the key level we identified on the daily time frame, the 14,550. And you can see we have that demand zone right here, which could be a platform that would incite an uptrend move. Now, if you look at the structure closely, it appears price action is gradually transitioning into what looks like a reversal pattern in the form of an inverse head and shoulder. So we have the right shoulder right here where the neckline of this reversal pattern will be situated along the 14,800. Now, if price breaks out of this neckline, retest the structure, we want to be looking out for buying opportunities. So what I want to be looking out for here is breakout retest of the 14,800 to join an uptrend move. And in fact, if price breaks out retest the 14,800, we will be back into the descending channel that is above the support line of the descending channel. Let me show you what I mean here. So this is the support line of that descending channel. So as long as price remains above both these support line and the 14,800, we shall be looking out for buying opportunities. Now, to have a better perspective into what is going on here, we would like to scale down into the 1 hour time frame to see how participant has been reacting to the 14,800 since the beginning of this week. Now, scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, we begin to see things much more clearer. Now, this is what I was able to come up with on the 1 hour time frame. The first thing here is that since the midweek of last week, you will see price had consistently found higher lows, giving us a beautiful ascending trend line to work with. Now, when we have ascending trend lines like this, we continue to hold on to a bullish bias if price remains above the ascending trend line, and if at any point in time price breaks down the ascending trend line, we will be looking out for selling opportunities. Now look at what we have here. So since the later part of the New York session, price has been ranging between the 14,860 and the 14,785 to emphasize the level of indecision here. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have a range like this, we want to exercise patience, waiting for either the breakout or breakdown of that range to give us an opportunity to trade. Now let's talk about the potentials of buyers here, considering the ascending trend line we have here. Now, for me to buy the USTech100 today, I want to see price break out of the structure first of all, then scale down to my lower time frame to look out for retest of structure to join that uptrend move. Now, the reason why I need a confirmation at this juncture in the market is simply because of how this zone between around the 14,900 and the 14,850 had played a major role in sending price to the downside since last week Friday. So you will see selling pressure around this area. We saw selling pressure, and in the last couple of hours we have been seeing selling pressure here. Now, for me to buy, I would need price to break out of this area, taking out all the sell positions here, and then coming back to retest it, giving me signs that there is liquidity for an uptrend move before I join that uptrend scenario. So that is the only condition we are going to be using to buy the USTech100, only above the 14,860. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities here, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. Now, if you look at the structure closely, you will see that sellers have been negating all attempt by the buyers to break through the structure since last week Friday, as you will see consistent selling pressure at every point in time price comes into this area. Now, if this pressure persists, then this might lead to the breakdown of this ascending trend line, and if this happens, we want to be getting ready to sell. And to sell this one, we want to see price break down, retest of structure. We want to be joining a sell move, then have a sell stop order below the 14,785 to join the bearish momentum, where a further breakdown of the 14,680 will be welcoming more selling opportunities here. So this is how we are going to be capitalizing on any potential opportunities on this one. So you do want to be marking out the 14,860. A breakout of the structure will welcome buying opportunities, while the breakdown of the ascending trend line will welcome selling opportunities. Now, before I round off on the USTech100, I would like to share with you a very interesting uptrend continuation pattern in the form of an ascending triangle. Now, if we take into consideration the impulsive move that brought us to this point, you will see what we have here. It looks like a triangle, an ascending triangle, which technically is considered as a strong uptrend continuation pattern. And for this pattern to be validated, we need price to break out, retest the 14,860 to incite that uptrend move. So I'm more of a bullish expectation on this USTech100 today, but if price does break down, retest that ascending trend line, then we'll have no other choice than to join the bearish momentum. So let's see how the market will play out in the next couple of hours, and we shall be back here tomorrow to review how well this asset has been doing. If you have any questions as regards to my explanation so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and you can use that time to mark out these levels on your charts, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So permit me to move right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the GBPUSD, the cable market. And in the last 24 hours on the GBPUSD, we have been doing very, very well on this asset, as we have been selling the pounds against the US dollar. And this further buttresses the strongholds the US dollar has amongst the major peers in the financial market so far. Since last week trading session, we have been witnessing this momentum. Now let's look at what really happened at the beginning of the week. What did we see during the live session yesterday that made us to consider selling the GBPUSD? Now, the first thing we observed on the 1 hour time frame of the GBPUSD chart was a consolidation phase. Now, we saw at the beginning of the week, price was confined within a range between the 1.22080 level and the 1.21800 area and the 1.2176 area zone, as you can see here. Now, this further buttresses the indecision at the beginning of the week, as participants were testing waters to see what is going to happen. And of course, whenever we have a flat channel like this, all we want to be doing is to exercise patience, waiting for either the breakout retest to buy or the breakdown retest to sell. And what we saw here yesterday was quite interesting. During the prior to our live session yesterday, we saw price break down the structure. And I was telling us yesterday that for those who had missed out on this opportunity, that we want to hold on and see if the market will come back, retest the structure to incite a downtrend continuation. And that if this does not happen, then we want to be positioning ourselves just right below the 1.212 to capitalize on the downtrend scenario. Now, we saw what happened here during about 3 hours into the New York session, 3 or 4 hours into the New York session. We saw price break down the structure. In fact, if you had missed out on that opportunity, the market came back to retest the structure a couple of times before the bearish momentum began. So at this point in time, we have a sell position running. In fact, we have a minimum of 2 sell positions running at this point, Well done to everyone who are taking advantage of this opportunity. And in fact, right now, you do want to be moving your stop losses accordingly to secure this current sell position. And from what I think here, anywhere below the second entry at the 1.212 seems most appropriate to lock in your position. Now, for those who took advantage of the second position, it simply means you want to have your stop losses within your entry zone so that if price buy pressure resume, the worst case scenario is a break even for you. Now, with a well secured position on the GBPUSD, what is going to be our plans for today? Well, from a fundamental aspect, the US economy has been very resilient in the last couple of weeks, which further buttresses the downtrend we are seeing here on the GBPUSD. And I'm of the opinion that as long as price still remains below that descending trend line we identified yesterday, we will continue to hold on to a bearish bias. Now, to guide our trading decisions today, remember we spotted this descending trend line here yesterday. In fact, we have a couple of them right here. So let me mark them out so you can see what I'm talking about. So we have the first descending trend line here, and then we have the second one right here. Now, since price still remains below that descending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our sell position. Now, there is something interesting I saw here this morning while trying to dissect the current market structure, and that is this continued buy pressure around the 1.20640 level since the early hours of today. And it has continued into the present moment, as you will see right here. And the continued buy pressure here, for me, could incite a retracement of that bearish impulse like we witnessed here yesterday. Now, to give a visual representation here, it could turn out to be a double bottom structure like a reversal pattern, retracing back into that 1.21200 level, which interestingly shares a beautiful confluence with that descending trend line. Now, if price gets into this level or the zone, let me call it a zone here, depending on what happens here will determine what our next line of action will be. Now, considering the strong bearish momentum in this market, it is more likely that we see continued selling pressure below this area, that is, buyers finding it difficult to break out of that descending trend line. And if this is observed on our lower time frame, we want to be joining a downtrend continuation. Then we have a sell stop order below the 1.20640 to add more position to our existing trade. So this simply means that as long as price remains below the descending trend line, we remain bearish. However, if at any point in time today, price breaks out of both the 1.212 and that descending trend line, then at this point, we want to start considering buying. Now, remember that we are not going to be getting too excited here. We are not going to be having a buy stop yet, as we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into a position. This is a long-term bearish momentum in this market, and to jump into any buy position here needs a confirmation for us. And to look out for confirmation, what is it that we want to see that will make us start considering buying? Now, once the breakout of both the 1.212 and the descending trend line happens, we want to be scaling down into our lower time frame. It could be the 5, the 10 or 15 minutes time frame to look out for confirmations which will reflect on the chart as price retesting either the 1.212 or the descending trend line. All we want to see is that sellers are finding it difficult to drop back below that descending trend line, and this will reflect on the chart as buy pressure around or above the 1.212. Then we can join the uptrend scenario. Now, if the uptrend now happens and we join it, please note that we also have a second descending trend line here. So if price comes into the structure, we move all stop losses, secure the current buy position, and then wait out for another breakout retest of this new trend line to add more buy position to our existing trade. So this is the only condition that will make us consider buying the GBP USD today. So the 1.212 area is going to be playing a major role in determining buying opportunities in this market. So you do want to be marking out this level on your chart right now. So a breakout retest of that structure definitely will be welcoming buying opportunities in this market. However, if price does not go as far into that descending trend line or the 1.212 and instead it continues to drop to the downside, then we want to be getting ready to add more sell position to our existing trade. So I will be looking forward to a breakdown retest of the 1.20640 level to join a downtrend move. Now, there are two ways to which we can capitalize on this opportunity. Now, for those who have been profitable, that is those who sold, who have the sell position since yesterday and you are quite profitable, you can afford to leverage on the profit you have made so far this week to test waters below the 1.20640 area, so you can afford to place your sell stop order below that structure. And if it doesn't click, if it fails, if that sell position fails, then we know that we are just risking some of the profit we have made so far this week and we are not tampering with our real accounts in our portfolio. However, if you are joining us for the first time and this is your first trade with us on the GBPUSD, then I encourage you to exercise patience and wait for confirmations to happen before you jump into the sell position. So what you'll be looking at here, if you are joining for the first time, is the breakdown, retest of structure, then we join the bearish move to the downside. So that is how we are going to be joining that bearish move if you are a newcomer with us. But if you've been part of this profitable journey so far, then have your sell stop order below structure and join the bearish move to the downside. So this is my view here on the GBPUSD for today. So I hope I made myself very clear. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to wait for your questions. You can use that time also to mark out these levels on your chart. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I see your comment 6175465. Coach Teams, good morning to you all. 994, good morning to you too. I see your comments. Thanks for checking in. So in the absence of no questions, let's move right into the last financial asset on our watch list for today. So the next asset we are going to be looking at now is my favorite, and that is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And on the gold spot, we've been doing very, very well in the last 24 hours as we have been selling this asset throughout since the beginning of this week. And it appears that the momentum that started last week is continuing into this week, and our trend line, bearish trend line, still remains very, very intact. So let's look at what happened at the beginning of the week, what led to the idea of selling. Right here on the 1 hour time frame, we spotted this range here where price was confined within the $1,848.50 level and the $1,839.50 level. Now within this range, we saw how price had consistently found lower highs and lower lows, which further emphasized the strength of the sellers in this market. Now, another thing that we observed on the higher time frame is this. Let me scale up into the 4 hours time frame. Let's refresh our memories into what we saw here. Now, on the 4 hours time frame, we acknowledged a descending channel, as you will see right here, after connecting the series of lower lows, as you will see. Then we had the connection of the lower highs here too as well, giving us a beautiful descending channel, which further emphasized the strength of the sellers. Now, one interesting thing here is that whenever price comes into the support line of that descending channel, we normally see buy pressure resume, bringing price back into the resistant line of that descending channel. Now, look at what happened at the end of last week's trading session. We saw price come back into the support line. Instead of buy pressure resume, we saw price break down that structure. Now, within that area, we have a level marked out yesterday, and that is the 1,847 level. So we did mark out this level yesterday, and interestingly, it shares a confluence with that support line of that descending channel. Now, we agreed here that a breakdown retest of both the support line of that descending channel and the 1,847 will be welcoming sell position, and this was exactly what happened. So I just needed to show you what things are looking like on the 4 hours time frame so that we can be on the same page when I talk about this on the 1 hour time frame. So going back into the 1 hour time frame now. So this is what we saw here yesterday. We saw the breakdown retest of the support line. This is the support line of that descending channel right here. So we saw the breakdown retest giving us confirmation. See, we had a breakdown here. We saw the retest of structure here. And because of this scenario, we said if price goes on to break down the support line of this range at the $1,839.50 level, we will be selling the XAUUSD. And if you had missed out on that first breakdown of structure, you can see how price came back to retest the structure and hour into the New York session, and since that moment we have been selling the XAUUSD. Now remember, we also had another level at the 1,831 area, which we said a further breakdown retest of that structure will be welcoming more sell position, and as you will see, price did break down retest that structure to push price to the downside. Personally, I'm already out of my position as I moved my stop losses and was taken out with some modest size of profit on this one. But if you still have a sell position running at this point in time, well, it is important that you move your stop losses right now to secure your current sell position. And for me, I would advise you to move all stop losses to the second entry zone. Anywhere around the 1,831 level seems most appropriate to lock in your position now. Now, with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Well, personally, I'm still of the opinion that sellers will continue to dictate the pace here. And in fact, we have a parameter which we will be using to guide our trading decisions for today. And that is this beautiful descending trend line you can see on your screen right here. So we identified the structure yesterday after connecting the series of lower highs. And as long as price remains below this descending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our sell position. And one interesting thing about this descending trend line is the fact that it also shares a confluence with the 1,831 area. Now, this old bullish expectation we saw here since the beginning of today's trading session may be a retracement where if continued selling pressure persists below the structure, we will be joining the downtrend move. So let's see how the market will play out here. I still hold on to a bearish bias and looking forward to more selling opportunities at the breakdown retest of the $1,817.50 level. Now, based on this current structure, the only condition that will make us start considering buying the XAUUSD is for this descending trend line to be breached. So if price does break out of that descending trend line, it would have also broken out of the 1,831 level. And if this happens, this will be a beautiful bullish signal. Now remember that we will need some confirmation before we jump into this position. We cannot ignore how strong the sellers have been in the last couple of weeks. Price had consistently found lower highs, and in fact a breakout of this trend line could turn out to be a false breakout. So we will need some confirmations here, which would reflect on the chart as a retest of either the 1,831 or the descending trend line, where the appearance of buy pressure around or above the structure on our lower time frame will be welcoming buying opportunities. And if this happens, remember that we have multiple levels here, like the $1,839.50 level and the $1,848.50 level to maximize the potential of this bullish move. So at this juncture, at this present moment, I doubt if a bullish momentum will happen. But if it does happen, if we have a breakout of the descending trend line, then we'll have no other choice than to join the bullish move. But in the meantime, we hold on to a bearish bias as we look out for more opportunities at the breakdown of the $1,817.50 level. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. I do hope I made myself very clear. But if you have any questions whatsoever as regards to my explanation, or you need me to do any clarification on this current market structure, feel free to let me know right in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever, and you can use that time to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions. All right. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are on the same page, and it's on this note, I would like to call it a day here. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys today, as we were able to attend to 4 major assets, which include the USTech100, the USOILSPOT, the GBPUSD, and finally the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot, and all of which we were able to identify simple setups and of course simulate all the potential opportunities that might likely happen around this area and how we will be positioning ourselves to capitalize on that move. So I do hope you marked out these levels we identified today. Please do, as we will be needing them as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions. Now remember that we want to exercise patience, and let's allow our structures to mature before we jump into any positions. For those who are joining us for the first time, I'm very glad that you stayed tuned into the end of the session, and I do hope you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from what we talked about here today. And I encourage you to be part of our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works, and eventually be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, I welcome you all, and I look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to review how well these assets have been doing and how we are going to be preparing for the New York session tomorrow. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.